I was invited to a meeting arranged by the Danish National Board of Health, where it was discussed what had happened to these girls who felt that they had been seriously harmed by the HPV vaccines. And this is how I came into this area. So now we are doing research in the area. And we have complained to the European Medicines Agency about how they dealt with the issue of possible serious harms of the vaccine. You can hear it on the name, the European Medicines Agency, that it's the equivalent to the FDA in the United States. They looked into the alleged harms of the HPV vaccines and concluded that there was nothing to worry about. But the way they came to that conclusion is not how you should do good science. So that's why we have complained over the EMA's conduct, the European Medicines Agency. We call it the EMA. First of all, we were dissatisfied with the way the EMA had dealt with the science in all this. For example, they asked the companies to find cases of possible serious harms of their vaccines. And they didn't check what the companies had been doing. They just accepted it, which is not all right, because we already knew that you cannot trust the drug companies. They have every interest in the world not to find anything. There was only one small placebo-controlled vaccination study, where one group was vaccinated and the other group got a genuine placebo. In all the other trials, there wasn't a true placebo. By allowing this, then you make it much more difficult to detect if the HPV vaccines give neurological damage. So the EMA allowed the manufacturers of the vaccines to lump together all their trials and call one group placebo, even though it was not placebo. I personally regard this as scientific misconduct. How can you call something placebo that is not placebo, and then tell the world that these vaccines aren't harmful based on such a comparison? It's just unimaginable to me how the European Medicines Agency let the drug companies get away with this. So the argument was that if there were not more cases when people were vaccinated than there would have been if they had not been vaccinated, then the vaccines were safe. Of course, this is a reasonable argument, but the problem here is that these conditions are very difficult to diagnose, and they are often overlooked by the doctors. So therefore, they are vastly underreported. And the EMA admitted itself that such a comparison of what was seen and what was expected is pretty weak science. So you cannot really base any conclusions on that. And yet, in the EMA's official 40-page report, they referred to this comparison no less than 10 times. Then it has also been suggested that these harms are psychological. And I don't accept that explanation. There are now data published that suggest that what these girls experience is an autoimmune disease. The benefits of the measles vaccine are far, far, far greater than the harms. No doubt about that. So we have very many vaccines that are very good for us. But we must realize for every separate vaccine that some people might get seriously harmed. What drives me is to give people as honest information as possible. And certainly this is not what the general public has received so far about these HPV vaccines. In this case, the EMA's official report of 40 pages contradicts in many important ways their internal report of almost 260 pages, which is not supposed to be known, but it has been leaked to us. In terms of the serious harms, we know far too little, and it's very wrong to give people the false impression that we do know enough about it, because that's what the EMA concluded in its official report. In my view, this is wrong in a scientific sense. That conclusion cannot be drawn based on the current data. These vaccines might carry serious harms, and we must study whether this is the case.